Today's topic is inverted word order, otherwise known as putting something other than the subject first in a sentence. This is actually something you've used a lot already, but it's so important and is used so frequently that it bears repeating. As you already know, there are two rules that govern the order of German sentences. First of all, subjects and verbs must be next to each other in the sentence. No other element of the sentence may appear between the subject and verb. Secondly, the verb must be the second element of the sentence. Not necessarily the second word, but always the second piece or concept. Here's how to think of the first rule. The subject and verb are in love and don't want to be separated. What makes their relationship different in English than it is in German is that in German, the order they come in doesn't matter. The subject can go before or after the verb as long as they are together. For the next rule, make the number 2 with your fingers. Also the letter V, right? That's going to be a reminder that the verb must always be the second piece or element of a sentence. Let's look at this with some of the new vocabulary you've been using lately. Let's put things in boxes so it's easy to see how things line up. We'll start with the sentence, Ich habe Englisch 8 Uhr. Notice that the subject, ich, is first, and the verb habe is second. So rule number 1 is okay because they're next to each other. Rule number 2 is also met because the verb is second. So this sentence checks out. To challenge yourself, pause the video now and see what other combinations you can come up with that start this sentence with a different element. We could start the sentence with the direct object, Englisch. If we do that, habe must still be second because it's the verb, and ich goes next to it. The subject and the verb are together, and the verb is second, so this is also grammatically correct. Let's start another way, with the phrase 8 Uhr. This is good. We've got our subject and verb together. They must be happy about that. But wait, there's a problem. The verb is not second. This is a very common error for an English speaker to make, because we are allowed to start with times in English too. The difference is that your English gut feeling will tell you to put the subject before the verb anyway. We would say, at 8 o'clock, I have English. But good English makes bad German, so be careful. Let's try again and see if we can put the verb second this time. This time, after we fixed it, we've got 8 Uhr habe ich Englisch. We've got the verb second this time, and the subject and verb are still next to each other. So no more English speaker mistake. Let's try another one with the sentence, Dann habe ich Mathe. Again, try pausing the video and see if you can come up with some other ways of phrasing this sentence. If we started with ich, we could make this sentence, right? Let's see. The subject is ich, and the verb is habe. Oh no, something has come between the two lovebirds. Dann can't go there if we want to have ich first. Furthermore, habe isn't second in the sentence, so this sentence is doubly wrong. Again, this is probably an error someone might make if they're using English grammar to try to create a German sentence. In English, you could say, I then have math, because in English, you're allowed to split up the subject and verb. But remember, you can't always use the rules of one language in another language. That would be like trying to follow the rules of football halfway through a soccer game. Probably won't work. Anyway, let's try to fix this one. We'll keep ich, but everything else has to go. This time, we've got the subject and verb next to each other, with nothing between them, and the verb is in second position. So this one checks out fine. No more English speaker mistake here. We'll do one more variation on this same sentence, but we'll do it right this time. If we start with Mathe, we could say, Mathe habe ich dann. Here, the verb is second, and the subject and verb, habe and ich, are next to each other. So this is a grammatically perfect sentence. Once more, just because it can never be repeated enough, notice that all of the words in the second box here are conjugated verbs. That's because verbs must always, always, always go second in German statements. The exception, of course, is that verbs must actually come first in yes or no questions and either or questions, as in these examples. Hast du Englisch zuerst? Findest du Bio interessant oder langweilig? Ist Mathe dein Lieblingsfach? Ist der Deutschlehrer nett oder gemein? However, verbs come second, right after the question word, in informational questions. For instance, wann hast du Geschichte? Wie viel Uhr hast du Sport? Was ist dein Lieblingsfach? Wie heißt die Biolehrerin? Finally, let's review the essentials. Subjects and verbs will always appear next to each other in German sentences, but it doesn't matter what order they're in. What matters is that the verb has a very special spot in the sentence, the second position, and will always go there in any statement or informational question. In yes or no questions and either or questions, the verb will go first, followed by the subject. Again, this can be tricky for English speakers because English grammar habits can interfere with making good German sentences. So remember the heart